What is up, guys? You got Not the Worst here, bringing you a subscriber request video. This is on grinding with Dark Knight, or how to sustain while grinding on Dark Knight in general. Now, this is mostly just going to, well, obviously this only applies to Dark Knight, so if you're not that or not interested in it, maybe don't listen. If you are, stay tuned. So it's mostly going to apply if you're awakened. I'll give you a couple of skills that you should be looking for if you're unawakened, but honestly, you need to just level and go from there. The question was being able to do it without using mana potions, or at least using a lot of mana potions kind of thing. I strongly suggest if you're not awakened, just go ahead and use mana potions whenever you need to, because it's going to get faster once you're awakened, and the grind time is pretty slow in general beforehand. But just real fast if you're unawakened. The skills you really want to focus on, you want these guys here, this chain, your Unveiled Dagger, and to go, because you're going to combo this in with your Airstrike. So Airstrike, Unveiled Dagger, where's Airstrike? Somewhere around here. You're going to use that to dash into mobs, so that, and then you can use, and then you'll hold F, and you'll dash on into them. And then aside from that, it's basically Wheel of Fortune right here. This is like skill number 1 you use unawakened for sure to kill dudes. And then you can use Corrupt Ground, isn't bad either, mostly for the mana recovery. It gives you HP recovery too, but like that's really going to be your best way to keep mana up. The only thing is the damage is terrible on this, and once you're awakened, you don't use it until you have like a ton of skill points that are not useful. But yeah, Wheel of Fortune, Unveiled Dagger, and your what was the other thing? Airstrike. Those, if you're unawakened, it's gonna be your best bet. But I recommend just go ahead and use the mana potions. It's gonna get you moving faster, and you don't want to be sitting there waiting on like Corrupt Ground cooldown. Although if you do it on a large group of mobs, it does actually give you a decent amount of mana back. Anyway, so how to grind with an awakened Dark Knight without a ton of skill points that you have. I'll talk about some of the skills you can have once you get more. The biggest mana gain that you're going to have for it, and the most important skill just in general, is Spirit Legacy. Okay, it's your shift right click. You can see the little video, dude. It's the let's swap over to awaken real quick. This guy here. This gives back a huge amount of mana, especially if you're either on like a violent mob or just a large group of dudes in general. That mana recovery is huge. You can see at level 3. Does it tell you actually how much? Plus 20 mana for every good hit on it. And you have it's 8 hits, so if you have a large group of dudes, it's a bunch of mana that you're going to get back. Then you've also got Shattering Darkness. Same thing here. It has a little bit less mana recovery. It's plus 10. So again, large group. The only thing with this skill, it has more hits for it just by a little bit, but the thing is, like, if you look at where it lands when you actually use this skill, it's like it's not as efficient. When you use Spirit Legacy, it's going to hit everything in that circle and actually a little outside of it. When you do Shattering Darkness, the swords kind of go, you see what I'm saying, they're kind of everywhere. So you're not necessarily guaranteed that if they're all grouped up, it's going to hit them all. And that's also why grinding violence or elite mobs or whatever is a little bit less efficient than larger groups for Dark Knight, because some of these skills are kind of not directly all concentrated in one place. So even though it's dropping like 11 hits and 3 Phantom Blade hits or whatever, it's not necessarily going to hit the single one target that you're attacking. So that's slightly annoying. But anyways, it does have MP recovery on it as well, so that's something to use in between to keep your mana up. And then this guy is just a skill that's going to get used a lot, and you later get the flow along with it too. Same, Shattering Darkness has a flow skill as well when you hit, what level is that? That's Bombardment. Where's the flow to Shattering Darkness? Somewhere around here. That's the root. That's Spirit Blaze. Anyways, it has a flow too. It's around. So yeah, Seeded Catastrophe also picks up one. This is just a good attack to use when grinding in general. It's not going to regain mana. In fact, it uses a decent chunk of mana while you're using it, but it does a ton of damage, and that'll do in that area and directly on single target. It hits really hard. Okay, so the biggest thing, there's skills. Those are basically the skills you're going to use. The other mana recovery skill you've probably used a million times, although it's important to hit a lot of group with it, is your dash, your forward F. Is it Twilight Dash? That guy there, that actually has MP recovery too. So a lot of times you're using that to close gaps or like dash forward to enemies, and it can be kind of a waste if you're like, just killed this group, you blow up this group with Spirit Legacy, and you're like, oh, let me dash over with those guys. So you have Spirit Hunt that you can do that with. It recovers a little bit of MP. Again, 10 per hit on it. It's only 4 hits, so you're not going to get a ton of it back, but Twilight Dash hits a whole lot more times. You've got 12 hits total between extra hit, because it goes twice, it spins through twice, and you have 10 MP recovery on that. So having a large group of enemies with Twilight Dash getting hit is kind of a big deal. So there's all of the MP recovery skills that you use covered, plus Seed of Catastrophe, because those are basically the skills. If you look at my, I don't know why these got off-centered. I had these all in order. If you look at my like skills that I put up here, these are the ones that I most commonly use. I have a few on my hotbar that I use that aren't up here because I want them hotkeyed. But yeah, Spirit Legacy is your bread and butter. Shattering Darkness is good. Seed of Catastrophe, when it's up, it has a little slower cooldown than the other guys. And then a few others, Twilight Dash and Spirit Rush. These 5 right here are your main ones. But the biggest thing to grinding on Dark Knight is when you're moving between mobs, you need to be using your side dashes. These guys here. Because it's called Dusk, and then the second one that chains to it is called Chain Dusk. So anyways, that recovers mana as well. So if we use up some mana real quick, so let's say we're blowing up a couple groups of mobs here, you know, whatever. So burn through a little bit, and so we've got 830 mana. If I dash twice to the side, up to 931, boom. So 100 mana picks up right there. The initial Dusk, it actually recovers pretty quickly. The cooldown on it's like 3 seconds. The chain one's 5 seconds, so it takes a little bit longer. It might be 6 seconds. It takes a little bit longer to recover that one, but you can see just from a couple seconds in dashing there, we've picked up a lot of mana. That's really, really important in your mobility and your sustain as a Dark Knight, is using those side dashes in between your skills. If you just use your MP recovery skills when they're on cooldown, one, you're going to be sitting there staring at cooldowns for a little while because you're going to run out, but without using other skills that don't recover MP. So that's one. And then two, you also need to keep in mind that you're moving between enemies and you want to do it quickly, so don't just run over there, dash over there. So what I do when I'm grinding is if I'm on a group of mobs, boom, blow this guy up, and let's say the other group's like over there, I'll do a forward dash and I turn my camera and do 2 side dashes so that I'm still moving forward. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again so that makes sense. By forward dash, turn camera, boom. So I'm going, you see what I'm saying? I'm going straight down this aisle. Now the forward dash does use a little bit of mana, but it's less mana than you're going to recover with your 2 side dashes. And the other reason is, like, let's say I want to go all the way over to like this big fat armor bro all the way down here. Like you can get the timing down to where there's a couple seconds, so you'll at least get the initial Dusk mana recovery, which is more than your forward dash. So you go forward, a couple seconds forward, boom, and we're over here. So 2 of those. We got the Dusk mana recovery twice. We got the Chain Dusk once in it, and we only used a little bit of mana. You can see my mana was full the whole time doing it because we're recovering more mana than we're using every time we do it. And you kind of get the timing for the cooldown on your the Smoky Haze is the forward one for it. You get the timing down where it's like just half a second or so that you need in between when you're chaining it like that. You run for a little bit and then you know it's up. You do it a million times to where it's complete muscle memory. You're hitting it on every cooldown without trying. So this looks like it's kind of annoying to tilt your camera, and that part doesn't bother you much. Your pinky on shift is going to hurt if you're grinding for hours at a time, but that's actually really, really, really essential to keeping your mana up at all times, which is what the initial question was, how to keep your mana up while doing it. And it really comes down to just transitioning between mob groups by doing that. Turning your camera keeps the forward momentum so that the side dashes aren't out of place. Something else you could do, let's say you're in between a group of mobs and like you got there a little too quickly. If this is a group of mobs here, you got there a little too quickly and you want to use your Spirit Legacy or something and it has like 2 seconds on it. I mean, you can literally just stand here while the mobs stand there and dash left to right, recover some mana, boom, blow them up. Obviously the mana recovery is just for mobility's sake, not burning mana, being able to dash all over the place and keep your mana up 24/7. The biggest thing is making sure that you're using that Spirit Legacy on a large group. Blowing up single mobs with it, not really efficient. I mean, you got to do what you got to do when you're grinding for speed, but it's not going to be efficient for recovering mana, so just keep that in mind. And the Twilight Dash as well. Those into big groups give you a lot of mana recovery. Shattering Darkness is okay mana recovery, and Spirit Hunt is okay mana recovery as well. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Those are your, I guess, mobility and mana recovery skills. Keeping those in your rotation is really important to keeping your mana up. The biggest thing is really just keeping that dash, turning your camera. If you're not doing that already, just kind of practice it a little bit. Anytime you're out, boom, turn your camera, spin so that you maintain forward momentum the whole time and your mana stays up. It's super useful and really the only way to grind on DK. If you're looking at other grinding skills, when those 5 skills are like, Spirit Hunt is almost always off cooldown because it's like 3 and it's one of your best engaging skills into a group. You can pretty easily, I think almost everybody does a forward right mouse button and then Spirit Legacy into that, blows up like every pack of mobs. If it doesn't, if it doesn't or almost blow them up, you might want to reconsider where you're grinding and maybe pick up somewhere that's a little faster because you want to blow up mobs as quickly as possible to be efficient for your money at least. Other skills that are useful to use but aren't going to recover mana or aren't going to burn through it. But let's say you're just burning through mobs real fast and you're grinding through it. What is this guy called? I don't remember. This guy, Shadow Strike, which is one of the Rabam skills. that guy, and you can quick slot it to something. It's ranged, which is really nice, but it does get affected by it can get line of sighted by roofs, I guess. So if something is above you in the target, it'll actually stop. I don't know if this can, but yeah, this will do it. So like if you do it under here, see, it gets stopped above that on that canopy. So if the mobs were right in front of me, it actually wouldn't hit them. So keep that in mind. It's a good amount of damage, and it's really ranged too. So I'll use that one more if I'm like, I'm over here, blow this group up, kind of doing whatever, yada yada. And then from over there, miss somebody, just like drop them. It's on my 2, keep over there and blow them up. Got it. You can also use your Shift E for kind of the same purpose. It hits a little bit larger range than the Shadow Strike does, but the damage is worse for it. But again, just something you can use to clear up your mobs. Then you also have your Lunacy of Vidir, which is our hardest hitting skill in general, and has super armor also. This guy hits super hard, and it also switches out of your awakening and switches you back to pre-awakening, as does, you can keep Wheel of Fortune as well. You also get another rub-on skill later, which is like upgraded Wheel of Fortune called Obsidian Blaze. It's kind of worse than Wheel of Fortune because the cooldown's super long on it. It uses a lot more mana for it. It does have super armor, which they both do, but as you can see, the damage is less too. So literally just a second Wheel of Fortune that's worse. You kind of only ever use that if you're in a situation where just stuff is on cooldown, but you don't use it a whole lot. And then the last one is the flow for Spirit Blaze. You don't actually use the skill before this, regular Spirit Blaze, just the flow. But you can use it in Awakening form, hotbar, just the flow to it. It used to hit very hard and had super armor on it. They removed the super armor a little while ago. So to be honest with you, I don't really use that skill a whole lot. Kind of in PvP if they're knocked down and you need to just finish them off because it'll hit for a decent amount of damage. You can do that, but you don't use it a whole lot. Anyways, those are just secondary skills to look at using in between your main skills so that you keep your mana up. Again, those are just kind of clean up things here and there. Honestly, if you keep your dashes up, you can rotate pretty much anything in as long as you're dashing in between mobs to get your mana, and that is pretty much the secret to DK. If you find that you are still not quite getting your mana full at 100%, then just carry some mana potions just to be safe. There's no reason not to. You don't want to slow yourself down just because you're out of mana. If you find that you do run out of mana, or maybe the area you're grinding isn't mob dense enough, so then your Spirit Legacy or your Twilight Dashes and stuff aren't hitting enough mobs when you are using them to keep your mana sustain up. Something else you can do, they do make crystals, and I don't recommend this for later once you get boss gear and things like that, but they make crystals. I believe it's called Absorption. Yes, this guy right here. Oh, that's the HP recovery. Okay, there's one of these that does MP recovery on hit for it that you can put in if you're really struggling, or maybe if you're unawakened, you could throw a crystal or two of the one, whatever the name of the one that does the MP recovery on. Throw those into your main hand weapon. It'll definitely help because on multiple hits you're going to get additional MP. But once you get, once you're awakened or you're starting to get like your boss gear and stuff, and you actually want to put useful crystals because you want to have attack speed and things in there, that's kind of just like if you're really struggling to keep your MP up. But yeah, so that's keys to Dark Knight Sustain. Hopefully answered the questions the subs were asking about, and that is it. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're just watching for the first time. We do all kinds of fun videos and stuff, and as you can see, if you have a request as a subscriber, feel free to ask me and I will put together a little video for you explaining if you have questions on different things. So that is all. My name is Not the Worst. Everybody, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.